What'd you feel like the experience did? How did it go for us?
I feel like the meet went pretty well for us all around. I mean, we had our ups and downs throughout the whole meet, but we ended on like high note. Um, Especially on bars, I think we had the best bar rotation we've ever had, inter squads and everything. So that was pretty exciting. But I feel like it went pretty well overall.
Konnor in the back. Just how are you acclimating to the college and the team environment? What do you really like about it? Obviously that was your first 10, so just that experience of experiencing that with that shared joy for everyone.
I love college and just the whole team and everything. The team environment is such an amazing experience, and finally experiencing it is like one of a kind, and like I'll never forget like these moments I'm having with the team, and like getting a 10, just knowing like the team was right there and they were so excited for me, so that was amazing.
Because what do you want out of this year, your freshman campaign? What do you want? How do you want it to play out? What would you ultimately like to achieve?
Honestly, my only goal for this year was just go into every single meet and start having fun with it and having fun with competing. So I feel like I'm already accomplishing that goal. And then I feel like just like going out there and doing what I know and like doing what I love.
Hey Konnor, I know you passed up the opportunity to take the season off to train for the Olympics to be here. How are you weighing that decision now that you are in that team environment? Is it any different than you expected it to be? Has it made the decision more difficult now?
I feel like it's exactly what I needed. I feel like I made the right decision in that moment that I made it, and this is everything I needed to still try for the Olympics and still get to that part of my life. So,
Is LSU helping you get to that goal to be with the Olympics this summer?
100%, yes.
What are you seeing on beam? I'm going to ask Jay this a little bit too, but opening meet here, you had some issues, I think. What were you feeling on beam, and where can the team improve on that event?
I feel like the team just needs to be like more confident. I feel like we have so much confidence on the other events. I feel like we're kind of lacking a bit in beam, but we're getting there and we're gonna get there. So I feel like that's the most important, is just knowing that like we need to have confidence and going into beam like headstrong and just like feel like ready to go. And I feel like we're kind of like missing that part, but I feel like we're gonna get there soon, definitely.
I'm sure the team is all focused on their own events and whatnot, but what positive can be picked up by being in the same arena as an Oklahoma, who traditionally is, if not the national champ, right there?
Yes, I mean, Oklahoma is amazing, but we don't have anything less than what they do, and we can be as good as they are, and there's no doubt in my mind, I feel like there's no doubt in the team's mind that we're going to be that good, and like we have everything that we need to get there.
How about the fight that you guys showed? Obviously, it wasn't the start that you wanted there, but to be able to battle back throughout the course of the meet and finish second in that group.
Yes, I feel like this team is like known for our fight and like always fighting and like coming back from like a downfall and everything. So I feel like we're always going to have that and we're never going to lose that part. And in our minds, it's just like we know we can do it. And just like whenever we have like a mistake or anything, like the next person's ready to go and like we're ready to like just pick it up after the next person.
I don't know how much you worked with her or knew her before coming to campus, but Haley Bryant and just her consistency, what kind of teammate and leader has she been for you?
Haley is honestly the best teammate. She is the most amazing person. She is such a kind-hearted person and everything. And then in the gym, just watching her, she does the same thing every day, and she's so consistent in the gym. And then just seeing the personality that she has outside the gym, like she honestly couldn't be a better person.
Konnor, your decision to come to LSU this year, you could have deferred another year, but what was that decision, and what do you get from being part of a team that you didn't get from elite level gymnastics when it's more, you're in international competitions, I'm sure, but it's more individualistic?
Yes, I mean the team environment, I mean it's honestly like one of a kind, like there's no better way to explain it, and like just all the coaches, and like I've never had so many coaches either, and like having Jay and Bugs and Court and G just be there like every practice and just always supporting us and like always supporting me, because they know like I've had such a rough past and like hard history, and like coming in like they've always been so supportive. Like the first half of the semester was a little rough for me, but like I finally like found like kind of like the light, and like I feel like they're kind of starting to see it in me, which is amazing. Yeah, just like with my back surgery and hand surgery, it's just injury after injury, and like I couldn't kind of get back into the groove of gymnastics, and I was just like, I need something else, and like I need a team to support me and just to be happier and love gymnastics again. And like I knew Aaliyah, and she was like, this is what you need, and I was like, I know. So she kind of like helped me make the decision. There was like a lot of people helped me made it, but yeah, I feel like it's just to find a happier place in my life.
Where are you at as far as competing in other events? Is that something you want to do, or is it a slow build?
Definitely something I want to do. The goal is to be an all-around, definitely by the end of the season. But I feel like I'm getting pretty close on most of the events, so I'm ready to go whenever they need me.
Tell them what you told Court. What's next?
Oh, I told Court after the meet on Saturday that floor's next. I was like, I'm ready, Court, floor's next. And then I told G that I already told Court that floor's next, and then vault's after floor.
So he's got to wait, apparently.
I'm not real familiar with elite, so I don't know if you perform as often as you do now at the collegiate level. Is that something that you're getting used to?
Yes, this is insane. Meets back to back. I feel like the closest meet I have back to back is like 2 months apart, and so this is crazy, kind of like traveling and then coming back home and then traveling again. It's kind of weird, but I kind of like it just because like I feel more in shape and like ready to go and like more confident.
If you would give us an update on what you feel about still pursuing a spot on the Olympic team this year. Is that still a goal for you? And if so, how do you hope to go about that? Balancing the fact that elite gymnastics Olympics level gymnastics is a little different. You're going for different things than you are in collegiate.
Yes, it's definitely different, but my number one goal is still the Olympics and to make that team. So definitely finish up NCAA season and then move on to all the elite meets and the elite season. But I'm still training some skills, so got to get back in that elite groove and elite skills and everything. So.
We're seeing more and more Olympians at the collegiate level now. Is that something that you guys talk about? Is it something that you're seeing can be a path and it's the right choice now, as opposed to kind of just staying in that lane for so long?
I feel like it just depends on the person. I feel like each person needs something different, and like they know what they need. But like the girls that went to college and then now they're back in elite, and the girls that are still in college and they're still doing elite, I feel like it's just like really up to them and like what they feel and like their body needs and what their mind needs, because that's all that matters. Like when it comes to gymnastics, it's like what your mind and your body and your like spirit needs.
Good, Con. You're good.
Thank you.
No, do you want an opening statement? No. Okay. I think you see just in talking to her, you know, that I told you guys early on, probably in the fall, that the goal with her, you know, was not so much about gymnastics, but to get her to a place where she felt good again, and that she was healthy physically and felt good about what she was doing and where she was doing it, and kind of just rediscover the joy of the sport. And I think she just shared with you that she's rediscovering that, and that was priority number one. You know, everything else for her outside of LSU goals, you know, will be put on a plan that she can tolerate and be driven by her. You know, it'll be driven by what her desires and aspirations are. They're not going to be driven by us. And so just you know, just really pleased with the progress. I think it's probably beyond where I even initially thought it would be when she first came in, and so she's doing great. And as far as this weekend goes, some really great things happened, obviously, but there, you know, also some disappointments, and so we've got to iron out those things. It's not atypical. There's been very few teams around the country that haven't had similar issues so far early in the season, so it's certainly not something we need to knee-jerk, but we do need to get some consistency. And I think she nailed it when she told you that for some reason the confidence on balance beam just has been lacking a little bit, and so we've got to be able to address that without creating a mountain out of a molehill, because it's a fine line to walk. You address the problems, but you don't make it worse by knee-jerking and moving things around too much, because we believe in the system that we have and in the process that we're going through. It looks a little different this year, as a result of some of the lessons we learned last year. We maybe have taken a little slower approach, trying to make sure that we don't that we do everything in our power to not wind up in a similar situation that we were in. We've had some years where we've been able to start super fast and then see it collapse at the end. So you want to balance that to the best of your ability, and there's really not a written recipe for doing that. You've got to kind of dictate. It gets dictated by the personnel that you have on your team. So I was really pleased overall with the weekend. I thought floor looked fantastic again. Obviously bars was amazing, but it was they got mad, and that's the kind of performance we see day in and day out. And so while we are known for that, fighting our way out of things, it's not something that we necessarily need to be known for. I'm glad we can do it when we have to, but we need to stop having to. And we've got to stop digging holes for ourselves and then having to climb out of them and everybody cheering that on. Let's start putting some complete efforts together, and let's be in the correct mindset when we get started.
You made a good point about not making a mountain out of a molehill. How do you do that? Is it as simple as adjusting the lineup?
No, it's. I think we need some. We'll make some minor adjustments in training this week and create some different scenarios for them. Put them in situations where they have to depend on themselves, on each other more in order to finish the assignment and the workout. Just where it replicates a little bit of the pressure that they feel. You're never going to replicate it totally, but just do some additional things like that. It's not about going in and ranting and raving and yelling and screaming and doing anything to try and they're up there doing they want to succeed. So you have to come from that as your starting point. But we just have to create a level of confidence. And look, you can point at many reasons. It was Konnor's first meet when she came off. It was Annie's first time competing when she came off this weekend. Kaya's coming out of a catastrophic injury that she hasn't competed since last January in Kentucky, and doing 4 events for the first time is different. And so without making excuses for them, you have to make allowance for adjustments that have to be made early in the season. That's true in every sport. So I think that's really the message overall.
Are you allowed, and this is just I don't know the answer to this kind of question, are you allowed to reverse your order and put your anchors first?
Yeah, you can do. I mean, we can create any order that we want. There's a certain amount of strategy that goes into making a lineup order. You don't want to put back-to-back routines that look exactly alike in terms of composition, because then you run the risk of it. You want to do things that don't have the potential to be directly compared to one another, if that makes sense in terms of style or skill selection. So we position people in different spots. If you'll notice, a lot of our 2 pass routines are separated by 3 pass routines and on floor, and some of the styles are very different. So it's not an exact science by any stretch of the imagination, but you do want to show a variety of things to the judges on every event if you can, and not look like just a repetitive group of sort of compulsory routines.
If you wouldn't mind being a little bit technical and describe what makes Konnor's bars routine so good. It seems like going from the high bar to the low bar, that transition looks really difficult. And what did you see in her as a junior? Obviously, she's coming up, and she eventually becomes a gymnast who wins the national all-around title.
Yeah.
What did you see in her early on in recruiting?
I don't know I've been aware of Konnor for a long time. Like I think she was in 6th or 7th grade, maybe 7th grade, the first time I ever set foot in her gym and watched her when she was still in West Virginia. And you just tell she's just a different level of talent. There's just things that jump off the page. I don't know how to describe it any other way. There's talented, and then there's things that just draw your attention, and she has that physical ability that just jumps off the page at you when you watch her train. The release itself, on the first release on bars, is a very difficult release. It's not done often. I think there may be a couple other people in college that have done it. It's called a church, and it's the same skill as some of our other people do, but she does it with her legs together in a piked position rather than straddled. The straddle generally allows it to turn over and rotate easier. Doing it piked is very difficult, and it requires a great deal of what we call amplitude getting up off the bar. So if you watch that release from the side, she's up there. She's probably 12 feet or so in the air at the apex of that thing. So it's just a very difficult skill, and it's fun to watch because it's just a monster. I mean, it's just huge, and she, her half pirouettes on top of the bar, on the low bar, and that dismount, which is new in the sense that I think she did it when she was much younger, at like age, I don't know, 11 or 12, but hasn't done it in quite some time. And so we brought it out of mothballs in the fall and started training it again, and eventually moved it back out to a hard surface. And she said it in her interview after the meet that she doesn't land it as consistently as she would like, and we've kind of taken the emphasis off of that and just focused on the direction. And I told her, if you'll just focus on that, the landing will start to come. We can't be result oriented in anything we do. We talk about that as a team. We talk about that with a skill. We have to think about the things that dictate the result and the process that we go through to get there. And so to see it come together was cool. It was a cool moment for her, and a cool moment for all of us, for the team, and it was fun. It was fun, but it's short-lived because that's an individual thing, and that's not something that we put very little, if any, emphasis on those kinds of things.
Just wanted your thoughts on being at home Friday, and how many people do you feel like are watching these meets on television on Friday night now? Kind of like football.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exposure, I don't know numbers. I know ESPN has their internal numbers. We can't always get access to that, but I will tell you that everybody I've talked to at ESPN, whether they're producers or people that are behind the scenes, say that that as a whole they're bullish on our sport right now, and so they must be getting they must be seeing things in their analytics that are great. I think it's been they've been a tremendous partner for our sport. Once we got on live TV with them, and we've worked with them, and we've had to give up a few things in order to make it work. But they've also been respectful of our sport and helped elevate it to new heights. So I think the audience continues to grow, and that's why we want to keep it as simple as possible. That's why we haven't changed our scoring system or gone to things that overcomplicate an already complicated sport for people to understand. But that people know what a perfect 10 is, they know what a home run is, they know what a touchdown is. So if we can keep it in terms where the layperson can have a very general, at least a general understanding of what we do. The parity is at an all-time high. I can remember days when there was 3 teams and then everybody else, and now it's, if you're in the top 15 to 20, things can go either way on any given day, and that's great for our sport. Sometimes I worry if we create a manufactured level of parity, just by our rules being like they are, and I think we have to continue to examine that year over year. But I think the health of the sport is at an all-time high right now, and it's fun to be a part of that. And our fan base and fan bases in other places are playing a big role in that, because when you put something on television and the stands are full, you're much more likely to watch it than if you put something on the television and it looks like nobody's in the arena. And I think having our home meets here in the PMAC and the kind of fervor that our fans show is tremendous for our sport.
Yeah, what about Kentucky? It seems early. Is SEC's early this year?
You talking about the beginning of our SEC schedule? No, that's about right. I think we usually get 1 or 2 in, and then we go into the SEC schedule. And look, Kentucky's coming here, and they've had our number the last several years, right? And they're probably better now than they've been in the last 10 years even. That's a really strong Kentucky team that's coming in here. They're super clean. They execute very well. Raina Worley is one of the best kids in the country by a long shot. And so we got our hands full, and it's going to be an exciting environment in here on Friday night. So I encourage our fans to get here and fill up seats. A little later start. It's an 8 p.m. start, so hopefully that doesn't discourage people from getting their kids out here. But we want it loud and crazy, and students will be back, and I want students in their stands and going nuts. And let's maximize our environment if we can.
Everybody healthy?
Yeah, we came out. I mean, everybody that was going in, we came out okay. So never. I don't like talking about that too much with you, Cobble. It messes me up. But yeah, I think we're in a pretty good spot physically.
And then just to see Livy out on the floor, what did you think of her?
Liv is good, and when Liv's dialed in, she's good. I thought her floor routine probably, could have gone a little higher. She's doing a great job. She's relevant in other places too. The difference is that all this ballyhoo depth that everybody wants to talk about, it becomes a challenge to break into a lineup that only puts 6 out on the floor at any given time. So she's doing a great job on bars. She's training beam at a high level, and so her being ready on floor at the beginning of the season is great, because the last 2 years we had to really push to get her ready by the end of the season on that event. So she did a great job in the off season. I keep telling people that she did a great job of showing up prepared, and she's been a tremendous part of our success on floor so far, and just she's a good teammate too, and that's important.
She's healthier than she's been, certainly to start the season. Right?
Yeah, I mean, some injuries don't go away, right? And so, when you have a torn labrum in your shoulder, that sounds like a horrible thing, but many times, we've got a lot of people on the team that have those. Lots of gymnasts have those, and it depends on the size of the tear, it depends on where it is, and whether or not you get it fixed. A lot of times, the trend now is to not fix them because they usually tear again anyway. So you manage it, and you get strong, and you build up around it, and you do the things that you need to do, and she's done a great job of that.
This is meant to be a somewhat lighthearted question, but the last time Kentucky was here, it was one of the more infamous gymnastics meets I've ever seen. Everything's. Do you double check these things now?
Look, man,
honestly, yeah.
No, the equipment is sound. We have good equipment here at LSU. I can assure you of that. It's not faulty equipment. It will not fail. Tim Garrison, the head coach at Kentucky, and I, we disagree on whether that was equipment failure that night, but we're good friends and have tremendous respect for him and what he's done with that program. He had a steep hill to climb when he took that job, and he's done a great job of continuing to get them in a good place.
You about where you want to be for week 3?
Yeah, I feel good about where we are. I really do. I mean, I think minus the hiccups on beam, which we'll get that ironed out. Some of that's early season stuff, and some of it we need to get a handle on, because it was 4 different people in 2 weeks, right? So if it was one person, you'd probably just say they're kind of going through it a little bit. But when it's 4 different people, we clearly need to address it, but we need to address it in a manner that is not destructive to. It's such a mental event, and it's a different beast than the other events. You don't want to tinker with their heads too much on that, because you think it's bad now, it can get worse if you're not careful. So you just have to stay the course in many, many ways, but try to challenge them in new ways that kind of break them through that.
Are Kathy and Bart like the best to kind of do what you were saying earlier, as far as bring people along into the sport?
Well, I think Bart and Kathy have a great synergy but they've been doing it together so long. They play off each other really well. They're huge icons in our sport. I appreciate both of their friendship. I've known them a long time, and they're really professional in the way they go. I think what we have to be careful of, though, is if we get, we're trying to, with the increased popularity of the sport, we're bringing in new talent that not necessarily is as polished sometimes, and so. I don't know. I always tell Bart and Kathy, I don't agree with everything you say, but I appreciate the way you do it and the product that you put out there for us. And it's a very polished product, and it's very professional. And so I'm hopeful that, as we expand, that we don't go so fast that we end up with what comes off as a, you don't want to put people in positions they're not ready for, and so we need to make sure that. I thought the addition of Taylor as a sideline reporter for the ABC meet was tremendous. She does a great job. She's done that in other sports. So those kinds of things matter, and so I think Bart and Kathy they're sort of the gold standard and the benchmark. I think John Roethlisberger, who's also a friend of mine, and Alicia Sacramone have done a great job. It's a very different style that they do it with. There's a lot more banter and a little more wit to the way that they do things. So I think there's room for additional talent to come in and do it. I just want to be careful that we don't expand it so fast that we end up with what feels like a B movie,
This has been unusual. Obviously, this year, Aaliyah was able to do what she did to qualify for the Olympics. But Connor's in a little different spot. She's going through the season.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, she's as she said, trying to hone some of those skills, which are a little different for international competition. How have you tried to support her in both things? Because obviously, it's great for her and for the program if she could make what is maybe the hardest team in the world to make in any sport.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a steep hill to climb on that, and as I said earlier, she's got to drive the boat on that. It's not something that we're going to dictate for her. We're going to support, and we're going to bring her along and help and consult and help her plan. But I got to make sure that I don't get out of my lane. My responsibility is to LSU and this team, and I'm not. My emphasis is on making sure that this team's needs are met, and that so that's why I say it's in her lap a little bit, because we'll help and we'll bring her along and probably consult with some coaches who understand better how to pace that than we do. It's not something that we've done a lot, but I think right now what her college routines are doing are giving her kind of a basic skeleton, a baseline. It's not that the skills are harder that she does at the Olympic level, it's that she has to do a lot more of them in the routine. So it's going to be about how to bring her along, how to add those things in a manner that's not destructive to what she's trying to do for her team, but that prepares her to get ready for what her obligations will be. And honestly, I don't even know what all those are. I mean, these are things that she has to ferret out and communicate with us about what she's going to need. Thanks, guys.